Hi everyone, this is Kylie from Stampers Workshop. Today we're casing a card from the January to June 2022 mini catalogue. It's on page 13. If you've got it at home you can see. And it features the nuts and bolts stamp set, which is really cute. And whilst it kind of has a love theme to it, how cute is this going to be for kids' cards as well? I can't wait to use it more. Start by cutting a panel to 8.5 centimetres by 11 centimetres. If you notice, my panel was already quite small. What I tend to do is I buy a packet of cardstock and I cut it into quarters. They're the size of a card front, and I just find that to be really useful. I can just grab a piece and I'm good to go, especially if I do want to cover a whole card front. Okay, now we've got it to size. We're using two of the cute robots. So I just ink them up at the same time. If you're worried about getting ink everywhere, perhaps do them individually, but I was hoping that I would be fine. I don't normally do that, but I don't know why I did it. Usually I'd end up with ink everywhere if I did something like that. Anyway, I kind of pushed that to the side to let it dry a little bit because we're going to be doing some blending. So I kind of didn't want to go straight from wet ink and blend over the top. So this is why I did it in this order. Ink up your sentiment and stamp it onto some Granny Apple Green, and then get your Taylor Tag punch, which I think is a fantastic punch. If you've been following my blog for any length of time, you'll know this is a punch that I use quite a bit. It's great for different techniques, it's great for sentiments, it's also great if you want to do a banner look because you can use it to cut it. It's just fantastic. Now don't throw away your Granny Apple Green cardstock because we're going to use it as a template. You could just make up one and keep it with the punch. I have done that before, except once it gets a bit too inky, I do throw it away. So I didn't have one this time. Now you'll notice I'm holding it in place with a bit of Post-it note tape. I've done that for a couple of reasons. One, I want to protect my white cardstock underneath so the ink doesn't go where it shouldn't. And two, to hold it in place. You'll also notice I'm sponging on the polished pink, but you didn't see me tap on any ink. That's because I actually keep that brush purely for polished pink because I use it a lot. And so I knew it already had lots of ink on it, and I don't want that blending to be too bright. But you add as much colour as you like. But if you're going to pounce it onto your ink pad, then make sure you pounce it onto some scrap paper first, just so that you don't end up going too heavy the first time. Okay, now we're moving the template up to cover the other robot, and this time we're actually going with some Granny Apple Green. And once again, I have a dedicated Granny Apple Green brush because I use it all the time. So I knew that there was still plenty of ink on it. So that's why you don't see me ink that up. You don't have to have brushes for every colour, and I don't have brushes for every colour. But my most popular ones I do. You can just wash out your other ones, or if you need to use multiples in a row, start with the lightest and then use the darkest over the top. Okay, we're onto our card base now. Take a piece of polished pink cardstock and create a card base. Mine's a top folding card. And then take your polished pink ink and the hearts stamp, and as you can see, I just stamped randomly over the bottom right hand side up to about 3/4 of the way to the top. You could create a whole background if you want, and I think that might look pretty good too. Because I was casing the catalogue though, I decided just to leave it at that. Next up, we're going to add our decorative panel directly to the cardstock base. I've used seal because I'm having it flat, but if you wanted to add a little extra dimension, you could use Stampin' Dimensionals, or if you prefer to use your liquid adhesive, it doesn't matter what you use. Instead of sticking it right down square, we're adding it on a bit of a jaunty angle just to be a little bit different. But we are going to pop up the sentiment with Stampin' Dimensionals. I confess I'm one of those who uses a lot of adhesive, and I use a lot of Stampin' Dimensionals. I know other people would only use one or two for something like this. I can't help it. I've tried to use less. I go back to what I know and what I'm comfortable with, but don't feel that you have to use as many as I do. Okay, now it's time to add the sentiment to your card. I fussed around with this for a little bit, and I found that if you sort of just place it really gently where you think it might go, you do have the opportunity to lift it up if you're not quite happy with it. Doesn't always work, but if you don't press too hard, you do have that chance. And when you do find it's in the spot where you need it to be, just press it more firmly into position. Final touch was to add some of the new adhesive backed hexagons. You can see on this second one, when I lifted it up, I actually lifted it off the adhesive. But the good thing about it is I just put it back into position, pressed down, and reattached the adhesive. So if that ever happens, don't panic. You can usually reattach the adhesive. And that's the front of the card done. But I like to usually do something quite basic on the inside to tie in with the front. I never go overboard on the inside because I figure that's where people want to write their message, and you never know how much somebody might want to write. So I take another one of those pre-cut card panels that I have, and I cut off 1.5 centimetres from the top and the side border, and that gives me a nice shape. That's the size I tend to use as standard. And I reintroduced my template from earlier, and this time I'm just going to add a little bit more of the pink, polished pink inked, and it's really soft now. I didn't bother to re-ink it. I could have gone a little bit darker, but I thought that would do. When I was happy with it, I take it off, and I take the other robot, which we haven't used yet. I just think this one's so cute, so I wanted to use it. I'm just going to ink it up with the Tuxedo Black Memento ink, as I did with the other robots, and then stamp it on that corner. Isn't it looking so cute? I think it's great. And that's the inside of the card. That's all I'm going to do. Add your adhesive. I'm using Seal, but if you prefer liquid adhesive, you can use that. Add it to the center of your card, and voila, we are done. Isn't that cute? I just love these little robots. Now, if you need any of the supplies that we've used today, you can find them at my online store. All the details are on my blog at stampersworkshop.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.